The WWE is coming back to Madison Square Garden for Monday Night Raw and Smackdown Live at the end of September. Only thing is, folks, WWE is having a very difficult time selling out MSG. Is it surprising to any of you why they can't sell out MSG? I think the answer is quite simple, folks. I think it's very, very simple. Also, Mark Henry states that Becky Lynch now has a certain arrogance about her and calls her out live on Busted Open Radio. But I thought Becky Lynch pinned Ronda Rousey in the main event of WrestleMania for the Raw Women's title. Isn't she entitled to a certain sense of arrogance, Mr. Mark Henry? Also, WWE Smackville. Why is it happening? Folks, I'll give you one reason and one reason only. 3 little letters that I'm sure you know of very well. AEW. All this, plus so much more. Little bit of extra for you, right here on Off the Script.
5, delete! This is mine.
Thank you guys so very much for joining me right here on the podcast. It is Tuesday, July 23rd, 2019. A little bit of extra for you right here on Off the Script. I am recording this right before the Raw reunion. You guys will not be seeing this until Tuesday, which is probably for the best. But if you guys missed my Monday Night Raw coverage, I cover Monday Night Raw every single week. Same thing with SmackDown, NXT. We have our flagship show, Off the Script, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday every single week, talking about the biggest news and rumors and giving you my opinion on everything WWE every single week. And if you guys love the sound of that, hit that subscribe button down below and turn on that bell for all notifications. When you click the bell, make sure you guys turn that bell on and make sure you are all notified of all my uploads, man. We upload every single day right here on the channel. Follow me on social media at JD from NY206. I live tweet with everybody during Raw, SmackDown, NXT, any specials, and obviously pay-per-view. Clearly AEW as well as we get closer to All Out in Chicago. JD from NY206 on Twitter and Instagram. Best way to follow me on social media, patreon.com/JD from NY206. If you guys want to support the podcast via the Patreon page, early access to everything that I do. And if you guys missed any of my uploads this past weekend for Off the Script, we talked about on Saturday, no plans for the Demon at SummerSlam. Sunday, we talked about Bischoff not being part of SmackDown Creative. Where is he? Who hired Eric Bischoff? And then Friday, to start the weekend, we talked about Kevin Owens being unscripted, and Paul Heyman now wants realism on Monday Night Raw. But why now, all of a sudden? You mean to tell me that the company didn't know they were doing wrong by the current direction of the quality of television they were producing? Give me a break, man. Everything revolves around the war with AEW. If you guys missed any of these videos, click the link in the annotation that you see in the top right corner. It's going to be a little eye. Click it, drop it down. Everything you guys need will be right there. Thank you guys so very much for all your support. Let's get into it, man. I want to talk about Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch fires back at Mark Henry for calling her arrogant. Now, I understand Mark Henry is very old school. I understand Mark Henry and his opinion. I appreciate Mark Henry. I think Mark Henry is very intelligent on what is going on. In fact, Mark Henry had brownie points earned from me when, I don't know when it was. It might have been Money in the Bank. I believe it was Money in the Bank. The Cruiserweights on the pre-show, he came out and he was interviewed by Charlie Caruso, I believe. And the first thing out of his mouth was, man, did you guys see those Cruiserweights? I think it was Money in the Bank. I'm not really sure. I'm terrible with these events because they've been so unimportant. But I know he said and praised something about 205 Live and the Cruiserweights and the ability of them to really put on a great match. So he earned brownie points with me on that night. I understand where he's coming from with these Becky Lynch comments calling her arrogant, but it's a very old school take. He recently opened up on Busted Open Radio about Becky Lynch and her character and how it's adopted a characteristic of arrogance. This prompted a reply from the man, Becky Lynch. I don't know how anybody could really be okay with calling her the man. It's kind of old now, isn't it? I think. But the man, or the man's bitch in Seth Rollins, however you want to describe it, this prompted a reply from Becky Lynch where she explained that she only did what she was going to do. She said she was going to beat Ronda Rousey. She said she was going to win the women's title. And she did it, which is exactly what needed to be done. So therefore, she said she went out, set out to accomplish what she wanted, and now she's apparently arrogant. So Mark Henry says this, and I quote, "Now, I said my truth as a fan and an analyst. I feel for my good guys and women when they say that bad guys and girls, it comes off as overconfidence. When they say what bad guys and girls say, it comes off as overconfidence, which in real world makes you a heel. So he says that Becky Lynch is coming off as a heel because of her characteristics, yet she's portrayed as a babyface. I never said she was not over, period. I said the opposite. Jim Cornette, Danny Davis, Rip Rogers, Tom Pritchard, Arn Anderson, Pat Patterson, and many others of that master psychologist have taught me to put the heel over and overcome the dominance by surviving and out-wrestling them, continuing thusly winning the crowd, getting respect for persevering and doing it fair. That makes you the good guy or woman. I'll take my lessons to the grave and will never take advice from social media trolls. I am correct, puppets. You lose." Now, she's arrogant, and I think this was her response to Mark Henry. A woman who told the world she was coming after the posters, the titles, the billboards, and the headlines, and then does it, is now arrogant. I said it, I did it, and I backed it all up. Live with it. So Mark Henry then gave her the reply that I just read you, that he stated on Busted Open Radio. Now, I get it. I get where he's coming from. But for a woman, and this is going to end all discussion. I don't give a shit who you are or what you stated on this particular subject. For a woman who was held down for so many years and been given basically nothing. She was always pushed to the side for a Charlotte and, God forbid, Alexa Bliss and every other untalented blonde in that company. Becky Lynch was suppressed and finally broke out of that shell and took something that WWE wanted to give her as far as a real heel turn, and the fans said, no, we don't want it. We don't want the version of Becky Lynch that you envision. We don't want Becky Lynch to be something that she's not. We want Becky Lynch. We want her at the top. We want to cheer her. We want to support her. We don't care what you have to say. Your narrative is garbage. We are going to script our own narrative for Becky Lynch. And that was that. That was that. Same thing happened to Stone Cold. I am not in the business to compare Becky Lynch and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Stone Cold was never meant to be a babyface. Ever. Ever. But it's that rebel-like attitude. And of all people, he was against one of the most beloved superstars in the history of this sport. Bret the Hitman Hart. One of the most respected entities in this entire business. Stone Cold made Bret Hart a fucking heel. How is that even possible? Now, I'm not comparing Becky Lynch and Stone Cold. I'm not comparing Becky Lynch and Ronda to Bret Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin. The similarities, the minimal similarities are there. But they did the same thing with Stone Cold. So why are you here getting worked up? Worked is what Mark Henry is going through right now. He's getting worked. He is one of those people on social media that he says is a troll. So I see no difference there. Becky Lynch and the narrative that the fans gave her is something that WWE didn't anticipate. They didn't want. They ran with it. They ran with it because they had no other choice. If they didn't, then they would be under scrutiny from every fan watching their programming. So they went with it. They realized that they were going in the wrong direction. They realized that they were making a mistake. And they put Charlotte first before Becky again. Fans didn't want it. So now here we are. You build Becky up as this character that's going to overcome all the odds. You put her in this situation to chase the title against Ronda Rousey. Against Ronda. She gets her face broken, which resulted in a broken nose. This thing takes on a life of its own. She's making threats. What we seen on social media was probably bigger than anything that we've seen transpire on television. And she goes into WrestleMania after losing to Asuka, after being kept out of the Royal Rumble. She has this rebel-like attitude where she wins the Royal Rumble without even being a part of it. She goes to WrestleMania, says she's going to beat Ronda Rousey. She does that. She's the champion. She overcame all the odds, did what she accomplished, did what she wanted to do, accomplished that. How is that arrogance? In fact, it's not arrogance. It's confidence. So we're supposed to boo confidence? I don't understand Mark Henry's take on this. Now, if you want Tommaso Ciampa as an example, you can take Tommaso Ciampa and his work in NXT and compare it to the Jim Cornettes and the Danny Davises and the Arn Andersons and the Pat Pattersons. He was a master psychologist. Now, people like me see the product different than a casual fan. People were paying to come to the arenas to see Tommaso Ciampa lose to Johnny Gargano. Whereas someone like me and people who are of a similar mindset watch Tommaso Ciampa and respect everything that he did with that heel. He remained in character all the way from what you seen on television to basically following no people on Twitter. He lived and breathed the gimmick to a point where it would be a risk to even ask him to take a picture, and he would say no, because that's how much of a villain he was dedicated in being. Becky Lynch is not arrogant. She pinned Ronda Rousey. If you pin Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania and give her her first loss, you are entitled to be a little arrogant, man. That's all I'm going to say on that. I understand Mark Henry's response to this. I appreciate his old school mentality. On most situations, I would agree with that. There are no heels in the company that are believable in the way he's describing. Nobody on that roster is a heel enough to a point where you want to go to the arena and see them lose. There's no heel on the roster that's getting a genuine reaction of, man, I fucking hate this guy. I want to see him lose. Most of the heels in WWE have, where's the remote? I got to change the channel until the next segment because I can't stand this guy. We're booing him for the wrong reasons. Becky is arrogant and is entitled to be arrogant, in my honest opinion. But I do appreciate and respect Mark Henry's take on the entire situation. That's just my opinion on the matter. WWE cannot sell out MSG. They wanted to sell out quicker than New Japan and Ring of Honor from April. They wanted this to be their 15-minute sellout, folks. Now, WWE, if you don't know, if you're in the New York market, they are running 2 nights in a row at Madison Square Garden, but they did not sell out at all. It was previously reported via Dave Meltzer that WWE hoped to have a 15-minute sellout and that they could call this their own 15-minute sellout, but the company knew that they would have trouble getting a packed house in a New York City market. No shit, especially with the quality of programming that the New York fans know you're putting on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live on a weekly basis. Why would they want to come to the shows? You're not giving them anything to come and watch and enjoy. The shows have not been enjoyable. Why waste your money on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live when you can sit at home, be annoyed, instead of wasting money and spending $16 on a beer and being annoyed sitting in the arena? Doesn't make sense to me. Not only are MSG tickets more expensive, but WWE was running combo deals as soon as the tickets were made available to the public on Friday, July 19th. If you bought one ticket, you get the other show for free, folks. If you bought Raw, you get tickets to SmackDown for free. This is current WWE, where they are now in the regular rotation of doing 2-for-1s, 3-for-1s, because they're having trouble getting people into the arena for Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live. Meltzer noted on The Observer Live that ticket sales for the upcoming MSG shows were so bad to a point where it's stunning. While he noted that SmackDown wasn't expected to sell out, at least Raw was, but it's not even coming close. He says this, and I quote, "Yeah, not good. Stunning. Absolutely stunning. I didn't think that SmackDown would necessarily sell out, and I don't think if anyone did, but everyone thought instant sellout for Raw. Some of it may be overpricing, which is being rectified from what I understand, but yes, ticket sales were exceedingly disappointing." How much of it was excessive prices in tickets? I don't know. How much of it has to do with the quality of television that they're putting on? People don't find any interest in going to the show. Now, granted, I will give WWE a little bone. I'll give them some scraps at the dinner table. It is July. It is the middle of July. You know, people are probably making plans to go to SummerSlam. You know? I don't know how many people are traveling up north to go to SummerSlam. Maybe you're traveling to AEW, All Out in Chicago. I don't know. Could be a case. Maybe the fans have put their money elsewhere and don't think Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live are going to be worth it and rather be at SummerSlam and rather be in Chicago for AEW. I don't know. It could be an instance of that. And they are worried about selling out quick. Listen, just get people in the door. It's July. This is not happening until the end of September. You have all this time to sell these tickets. So what you're looking at now is WWE in panic mode, but it's too early to be in panic mode. These shows will probably be close to a sellout, if not sellout. Raw will be, at least. I'm not sure about SmackDown Live, but I don't think WWE has anything to worry about with WWE coming into Madison Square Garden. Whatever they do, more than likely they will be close to, if not complete sellout. So it is the middle of July, folks. Take that into consideration. Now, of course, with the G1 Supercard, and theoretically them selling out so quickly, it was during WrestleMania weekend, and so many fans, this was before AEW was announced, so many fans assumed that the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, Cody Rhodes, were all going to be there. And that was not the case. They didn't even show up for the event because of AEW being announced in January. It's nothing like what we saw with New Japan and Ring of Honor. They drew for their show, and WWE's goal was obviously to sell them out quicker than New Japan and Ring of Honor did. The goal was for this to be the version of the Giant Demand 15-minute sellout so they could boast about it on social media. I'm glad it didn't, because you'd never hear the end of it, and it would be a direct, I would say, rebuttal to AEW, because they were hyping up that Double or Nothing sold out in 29 minutes, and All Out sold out in half that time for Chicago. WWE wants so badly to be that AEW, oh, look, we sold out Madison Square Garden in 15 minutes. And it didn't happen. So now they are sitting on these tickets, and in New York, it should have been easier because you got the scalpers, but scalpers didn't hit it. It was noted that there are around 1,600 tickets available on StubHub for the MSG Raw and SmackDown events. That isn't a lot, but not many people are probably going to visit a secondary website if there are still tickets available at the main box office for these shows. The reality is that WWE knows that live event ticket sales are down, which is why they offered 2-for-1 deals from the start. In fact, they were advertising combo deals before the event even went on sale. Combo events for Stomping Grounds, combo ticket sales rather for Stomping Grounds. Same thing for Extreme Rules, same thing for MSG in New York City. Not a good time to be WWE, man. They know where they're struggling. They have to rectify it. It all starts with TV shows. You put on a product that people are interested in, they will be more willing to come to the live shows to see what you're doing. Simple as that. I don't want to hear it from anybody else. Oh, it's the live experience, blah, blah, blah. Blow me. Put on a good show, people will come. Simple as that. You give them quality, people are going to want to spend their money. Corey Graves reveals that AEW has reinvigorated the WWE locker room. I am not surprised by that, but it's kind of sad that it took for competition to reinvigorate the WWE locker room. So if you are finding reinvigoration from AEW, what was going on before AEW? You guys weren't happy to be there? You were merely there for a paycheck? Now all of a sudden you're reinvigorated? Folks, the AEW effect is real. If Corey Graves is going out publicly on interviews and saying that AEW by name has reinvigorated the WWE locker room. You should be reinvigorated by just going to work and showing up to work and doing your job every single day. You should be proud to be a WWE superstar. Why aren't you invigorated to work? It's because the creative end of things is fucking garbage. That's why. So the AEW effect is certainly trickling down from upper management to the locker room and everything that WWE is seeing now, with boasts and contracts, with reinvigoration in the locker room, a sense of urgency. Where do you think that's coming from? Where do you think that's coming from? The AEW effect is absolutely a real thing. This is not like a ghost or something that's, a conspiracy out there. People believe in the paranormal. I believe in the paranormal. Some people don't believe. This is not a ghostly apparition that, someone's seen and then you find it very difficult to believe that they seen it. No, this is real. This is real. The AEW effect is real, folks. Graves says this, and I quote, he mentioned external forces. As if it's some fucking, again, ghostly apparition or some demonic possession has caused a reinvigoration of the WWE locker room. He won't outright say AEW, but when the subject was breached later on, it was referenced as AEW, which Graves did not refute. He says, and I quote, people get mad about storylines sending me mean tweets, and I'm like, I didn't write it. I just saw it when you did. There's obviously a little of an internal buzz, and obviously there are external forces that everyone's talking about, and in a weird way, it's kind of reinvigorated the locker room. Hopefully that's the start of something cool that's going to pretty much be felt throughout the entire company. But I know the boys and girls that bust their ass every night all around the world, they're all fired up now. It's exciting to see, and it's a small change, and it's going to take time, and it's going to take a lot of effort. But yes, hopefully, with the short answer of yes, I think there's going to be a change of something. I'm not surprised by this whatsoever. I just wish that they would have been reinvigorated in another sense to not make it so obvious. Of course they're reinvigorated. AEW's coming in, and they have a lot to be reinvigorated about. With AEW merely existing, WWE contracted employees are making more money. They've raised the pay scale without even doing anything. They raised the pay scale by merely existing in the pro wrestling world. They gave you another option of a place to go work. By that, they reinvigorated everything with their vision of what they want to do for pro wrestling and change the game, change the world, per se. Of course, it's reinvigorated the WWE locker room. By them merely existing, WWE is now realizing all of their mistakes and all of their faults. Now they have to compete with AEW. Now they're going to be borrowing ideas from AEW to make their TV show better. Now they're understanding that what they did for all these years since the death of WCW has just been done to merely get by. I mentioned it off the script. Sports entertainment is dead. Vince has to now rest his laurels on what brought him to the dance, folks. Pro wrestling. AEW is not going to be sports entertainment. I can find entertainment in anything. I don't need to watch wrestling to know I'm being entertained. I want to watch wrestling, and I want it to be called pro wrestling. I want it to be a sport. I want to dive into the analytics of a sport. I want wins and losses to matter. I want shows with continuity from one week to the other. I want what happens on my TV to have meaning 3 weeks later. This is the simplicity, the basic fundamentals that AEW is going to institute onto their programming. WWE is realizing that everything that they've done up until this point has been worthless, meaningless, unimportant. They've coasted on mediocrity, and people suck it up and aren't one to want the company to get better. They are okay with dwelling and just suffering in mediocrity. When I come on here, I don't complain just because it gets me views and clicks. I complain because I know the quality of talent that the company possesses, and I know that they have it within them to give me the best product possible. There's no reason why NXT exists and is so far superior to what the main roster is doing, and WWE can't look at that and say, man, we've had competition right underneath our own banner. The fact that Corey Graves, and I mean this wholeheartedly, the fact that Corey Graves goes on these interviews and says that there's external forces that are reinvigorating the WWE locker room, that AEW is reinvigorating the WWE locker room. How fucking pathetic is it that WWE is looking to AEW to now all of a sudden be reinvigorated? NXT's existed for 7 fucking years. If you weren't reinvigorated by watching TakeOver completely blow away every single pay-per-view that you've done since it's been in existence, how are you not reinvigorated by that? Again, NXT gets the shaft. When I look at reinvigoration and I want my reinvigoration of a pro wrestling product, NXT always delivers on a weekly basis, on a quarterly basis with TakeOver. That's where my reinvigoration comes from. WWE should have looked at TakeOver and NXT in the same light. And it's said that it took AEW to come into the playing field to have WWE say, you know what, maybe we need to change. You've had it all along. Excuses, excuses, excuses. But AEW is not competition. Sure, it's not. Smackville. Smackville happening at the end of the month. We're going to see a WWE title match, triple threat with Kofi against 2 losers in Samoa Joe and Dolph Ziggler. However, the reasoning for this special is very interesting. We will also see an Intercontinental Championship match between Shinsuke Nakamura and Finn Balor. We're going to see a title match, I believe, triple threat with Bayley, Alexa Bliss, I don't know why, and Charlotte Flair, and then a musical performance by Elias. Sean Ross Sapp says this, and I quote, I've been told WWE's doing this for a variety of reasons, including to see how smooth things run on somewhat short notice, which doesn't mean much of anything. Another person involved suggested that it was to gauge how well they could counter-program on short notice. End quote. What are you counter-programming, folks? But AEW is not competition, though, right? Oh, wait. AEW is competition. Simple as that. Moves like this, actions like this speak much louder than anything WWE could say verbally. AEW is clearly drawing a lot of WWE's attention. They're triggered. AEW is triggering WWE, just like Alexa Bliss was triggered by my facts and truthful statements on Off the Script that she's tweeting at me indirectly. Poor little Lexi, right? Now, Fightful says that Smackville special is thrown together on short notice because WWE wants to be ready for a last-minute counter when available to AEW. Brad Shepard says that his reports, Sean Ross Sapp's reports, are true, and that Vince McMahon's message to his troops is apparently one of readiness. They want to bring the fight to AEW before it could be brought to them. This is very interesting, especially since Brad Shepard also reported that WWE is also planning with these special events to see title changes and unannounced appearances as well. He says this, and I quote, I'm being told Sean Ross Sapp's report is correct. We are taking the fight to them before they take it to us, which was a directive from Vince McMahon and exact words from Vince on Friday. Some of these network specials will include title changes and unannounced appearances going forward. Folks, when you watch Smackville on the 27th, I believe, of July, it is happening for a reason. Because when AEW wants to do something, they want to be ready and able to counter anything that AEW does. AEW effect is real. Competition? Absolutely. I'm not surprised by this news whatsoever. It's amazing how WWE has existed all these years in the death after the fact of WCW. And it's amazing how they are now scrambling with all of what's going on. They're running around like chickens with their heads cut off because of AEW. It's amazing what a little logic and a little basic fundamental is doing to WWE. AEW is not even on weekly television yet, and they're having WWE dancing around like fucking puppets on strings. It is a beautiful thing to see, folks. It is a beautiful thing to see. It's beautiful because it's going to bring out the best. Competition's going to breed WWE at its best. And it's good for us because we have more variety. We have more content for content creators. This is a good thing. I am not surprised by any of this news whatsoever. That's the first thing that I initially thought of. Anyway, it had to do something with AEW. Now it's being reported that WWE is getting themselves ready on short notice to make sure that they are ready to counter-program whatever comes their way moving into October. It's exactly what it is. I want to talk about this. I got 2 more stories, guys. This is not really a story, but I just want to bring you up to speed on how WWE is very forgetful in things, and I mentioned this on my Monday Night Raw podcast, I think after Extreme Rules. It concerns Lacey Evans and Baron Corbin. Baron Corbin was put in that Battle Royal to be gifted an opportunity at the Universal Championship. Meanwhile, at Extreme Rules, he lost all opportunity at the title. I know that was the instance, and many people agree with me. Some who didn't agree with me clearly aren't watching and listening to the shows good enough. Rules don't apply in WWE, and this is where logic comes in, and this is where they're trying to tighten up on all that. Paul Heyman, we talked about on Friday, wants more realism in WWE. He wants to make sense of what happens one week going into the next. The main event of Extreme Rules was a mixed tag team match with Lacey Evans, Baron Corbin, Seth Rollins, and Becky Lynch, which I don't know, by the way, if you realize, they're dating. Not sure if you realize that. So, that mixed tag team match was with a stipulation. If Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch were able to win, then Baron Corbin and Lacey Evans would not be getting title opportunities with those championships. Of course, Brock Lesnar ended up cashing Money in the Bank to ruin Seth Rollins' night, but before that happened, the babyfaces won their match. This win for Rollins and Lynch meant that neither Corbin or Evans were allowed to be getting another title match. For the foreseeable future, at least put it and put the stipulation into effect. I don't give a shit if Rollins was not the champion or if he was the champion. Now, however, the stipulation didn't last at all. It didn't last 24 hours. It lasted till Monday Night Raw when Baron Corbin was given another opportunity at the Universal Championship. Lynch found herself defending the Raw Women's title against Lacey Evans 5 days after Extreme Rules at a house show, back-to-back nights. WWE has a history of going back on their match consequences, but it really didn't take them long to change their mind about giving Lacey Evans a title shot. Now, before the goon in the comment section says, "Oh, but JD, it was a house show, man." So what? So you mean the people that watched in that particular venue at that house show didn't watch Extreme Rules? You mean to tell me that there's not one person in that audience that watched Extreme Rules that forgot about the stipulation or remembered that stipulation? Are you kidding me? There's no continuity. I would have booked Becky Lynch against somebody else. Why does it have to be against Lacey Evans? That's WWE at its worst. That's WWE at its laziest. That's just a ridiculous thing to do. If you put forth a stipulation, it should matter not only on live television, but it should matter on house shows as well, on the tour circuit. No questions asked. There's no continuity there, folks. That's where WWE needs to tighten up. The fact that Baron Corbin was thrown into that Battle Royal after losing the night before didn't make any sense at all. The fact that Lacey Evans got a title shot at Becky Lynch 5 days after she was told if she lost, she wouldn't get another title shot doesn't make sense. They look foolish. They look absolutely foolish. Finally, guys, before we get out of here, I love this. And I want to know so badly what Vince McMahon is going to say during the next investor meeting. WWE can't use the same excuses this time around for failing ratings. We all know the ratings have been garbage. Correlates with the show being garbage. That's not really a surprise to anybody. So, the WWE creative direction of the product has also been a point of contention as well. Fans have possibly turned away due to the lack of engaging storylines since WrestleMania, but if we're going to look at which superstars were featured, then it is pretty hard to deny these numbers. Becky Lynch is right at the top of the list. Variety recently published an article about WWE's rating slump and Vince McMahon's excuse that he had for investors during their last earning call, saying that a lot of the roster was out injured. McMahon contributed their lack of ratings and house show attendances on the fact that superstars were injured or not able to work. Now, with the graph provided by Variety, we can get a much clearer picture of what is going on here with this. Now, I'm going to post it in the video for you guys, so you guys see it on the screen. With 18 appearances in WWE's first quarter and 23 in WWE's second quarter, if poor ratings are going to be something that concerns investors, then Becky Lynch might take a bit of the blame, which I don't think any of the champions are to blame. it's WWE's fault for writing garbage television. Now, like I said, it isn't Becky Lynch's fault by any means, but the fact that WWE can't blame the fact that they are lacking any big stars except for the obvious absences of John Cena, maybe The Undertaker, right? WWE can't point the finger of injuries being a reason as to why the ratings are down. So I don't want to hear this. Now, Bray Wyatt had 0 appearances in quarter 1 of 2019. He had nine appearances with the Firefly Funhouse, most of those appearances being in a scripted segment on the show, a video package. Roman Reigns was out with leukemia. 5 appearances in the first quarter, 20 appearances in the second quarter between Raw and SmackDown. Remember, the wild card rule's in effect. Kevin Owens, 6-18. Alexa Bliss, 10 to... Nobody's watching the show for Alexa Bliss. Fuck that. Seth Rollins, 12-16. Dean Ambrose, clearly we all know Jon Moxley's with AEW. We went from 13 to 1. So that means nothing. Braun Strowman, 14-15. Sasha Banks went from 14 to 2. She went out on hiatus. Charlotte Flair went from 15 to 12. The dip there was she was out because she was supporting Andrade with some family tragedies that happened. His mother and aunt passed away. Becky Lynch went up from 18 to 23 appearances. So what's the reason, folks? What is the reason for WWE and their failing ratings? Is it because of the lack of star power? No. This is attributed to 2 things. This is attributed to 2 things and absolutely nothing else. 1, WWE has failed to create new stars. Nobody watching considers any of the names I mentioned here stars. They may be what WWE is pushing on television, but none of them are going to be superstars that you watch and go out of your way to come home early from work for. None of these superstars are going to be superstars that you're going to stay viewed to the television to watch. Most of these segments are skippable segments outside of Bray Wyatt. They've been given no opportunity to build their own individual brands and become breakout stars. The second thing is the quality of the television shows and the storylines that are attributed to these shows that make up 3 hours of Raw and 2 hours of SmackDown. The quality of television and the storylines are complete garbage. Complete garbage. So I want to see what Vince McMahon says in the next meeting. I'm sure he'll make up an excuse. I'm sure he already has an excuse on the top of his brain when he sits down with the investors. Why are the ratings down? Says the investor. Why are house show attendances down? Says the investor. What is Vince McMahon going to say? Lack of star power. They haven't created new stars, and the storylines and the quality of television have been piss poor garbage. That is why. Anything else is simply an excuse. I'm getting out of here, guys. Thank you so very much for all your support. This is Off the Script. If you enjoyed today's podcast, this is a little extra for you. Hit that thumbs up. I would greatly appreciate it. If you guys loved what you've seen, if you appreciated the opinion that I gave you here in this particular podcast, please make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below and turn on that bell for all notifications. Follow me on social media, man, at JD from NY206, both on Twitter and Instagram. Make sure you guys, again, hit that like button, that subscribe button. And if you guys missed anything that I previously uploaded this week, Off the Script, parts 1, 2, and 3 for episode 283, live on the channel right now, as you see some of the great artwork there, the thumbnails there by Sal Rex. Bischoff not being hired as head of SmackDown Live Creative. Kevin Owens allowed to go, quote-unquote, off the script. And Paul Heyman wants more realism on Raw. But why now, all of a sudden, AEW? And then, yes, it's true, folks. It's true. The effect is real. And then, no Demon King at SummerSlam. Make sure you guys check all that stuff out live on the channel, man. Thank you guys so very much. Again, please hit that thumbs up, and I will see you all for SmackDown Live tonight. Bischoff is supposed to be there. I doubt he has any influence, though. We'll talk about it tonight on SmackDown Live. Until then, guys, have a great Tuesday, and I'll see you tonight for SmackDown Live.